Welcome into the Fantasy Rank podcast. I'm your host, Mason Beck. I'm with my co hosts, Dan Baker, Lee Cook. Welcome in. We're glad to have you guys here tonight. Obviously, not you guys. I'm talking to people who are watching this. And, you guys are just kind of here. But
Yeah, fuck you too, Mason.
yeah, thanks. But we're going to be doing something that I hope we can kind of do throughout the rest of this off season and something, in future off seasons as well. We're going to be doing a deep dive into a rookie. One of the rookies that are drafted within the first couple rounds. Tonight we're going to be doing Tet McMillian. Was drafted to the Carolina Panthers in the first round. Um, Probably the most talented wide receiver in this class, most sought after wide receiver in this class after Travis Hunter. Uh, who we're a little confused if he's necessarily full time wide receiver or not. Um, yeah, we're just going to dive right in, talk to Ted McMillian, give a little more deep analysis, what we like about him, what we don't like about him. Do we think he's being overvalued? All those sort of things. Um, really, the first question we're going to just kind of talk about, pass around real quick. What is kind of the favorite thing we like about Ted McMillian? Why is he, was he getting drafted this high in the real NFL draft? Why is he getting drafted this high in your rookie drafts and startup drafts? What about him are we really liking?
Yeah, so the physicality is the leading trait. He's giant and he's quick for his size. He wins at the catch point. He had a 60% contested catch rate per PFF. And reception perception, he had a 75% contested catch rate. Wins at most routes. Didn't succeed with the 9 route, the slant route, and then he was average on the curl. So overall, I think that he is going to succeed in the NFL with his size alone, but he doesn't. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. Physicality would be my favorite trait.
Lee.
Yeah, I mean, I would kind of play off of that. I mean, the size and the frame is just something you can't teach. Um, he's already pretty polished as a receiver to go with that, but I mean, the what that allows is the yards after the catch. Average 5.5 yards after the catch in college, which is, I mean, if you can do that in the NFL, you're a Hall of Famer. You're moving the chains constantly. He's going to be a possession receiver, and I won't get into the least favorite attribute, but he's going to be a really good possession receiver. We'll see if he can excel beyond that.
Yeah, my favorite kind of bit about him is definitely the yards after catch, kind of how you were talking. I mean, that and like you're saying, he's a possession receiver. If he's just going to get peppered with targets, I mean, he just goes and grabs an extra 5 yards on average, which I don't think it'll be that high. But if you can do that, something similar to that every single time, he's going to be a monster in PPR leagues. That's something that really. I mean, if you're in that type of league, that's what you want. If he's getting 10 targets a game, no matter where he's getting them, and he's adding 3-4 extra yards to no matter what kind of catch it is, he's gonna produce points every single week. But then to move on to the just kind of the worst side of him, obviously every prospect does have some downsides. Even when they are one of the top ones, if you guys have something that really stands out as kind of a major negative, whether it's more NFL transitions more into the NFL aspect of it or the fantasy aspect of it.
I just think he's going to struggle with. Go ahead.
I didn't say anything.
I think he's going to struggle being, taking the top off, being a deep guy. Press physical corners can slow him down, and just in general, does he have the speed? He's a long strider, so you kind of have to. It's kind of like again, not dating myself, but none of you guys know what a wind-up toy is, but you got to wind that shit up before it starts moving. He takes a little while to get moving, and you don't get that kind of space in the NFL consistently. So I don't think he's ever going to be that over the top. A lot of comparisons to Mike Evans I've seen, because of the build. I don't know that he can be that over the top deep threat that Mike Evans is.
I completely agree with that. Mike Evans had a little bit more speed, especially at once he got going. like you're saying. There's not the top end speed. There's not the separation. The really just wins at the catch point. He was 59th percentile in terms of his success rate against man coverage and 60th against zone. The one thing he did have success with actually was the against press coverage. He was 80th percentile against that. I do think that he has flexibility in his movement to continue to improve. He's not like this big stiff guy that is just not going to be able to learn what he needs to do to be successful in the NFL. But I do think it's going to be a little bit of time before he truly pops, especially, kind of being with Carolina, not necessarily known as an offensive powerhouse at this point. So
Yeah, no, I mean, what really worries me is the deep ball. Like you said, I just the top end speed necessarily isn't there. He's going to get beat by a lot more of these faster corners. I just and I mean, it'll be interesting how, like I'd say, kind of see who's matched up against him going forward in this rookie season. But I like what you're kind of saying. It might take a year for him to kind of develop and really step into that NFL role. His talented, his physical, the size profile is pretty crazy for a wide receiver. If he can really find that NFL fit, he's going to be a stud in the future. Whether it takes year 2 or year 3 to really get that going. The next question we got going forward is, being drafted into Carolina. Bryce Young just finished up year 2, a little shaky shaky year 1, not very good. Shaky start to year 2, got benched at one point, came back in and looked a ton better. The best Bryce Young we've seen so far of his career. Do we think he's going to continue improving? Do we think he's already shown enough that it's going to provide enough to necessarily to McMillian to justify drafting him as high as he's going? Also, they did spend a late first-round pick on Xavier Legette last year. They also got Adam Thielen in there. Jatavian Sanders, tight end rookie they drafted last year. Who knows if he's going to do anything? But just the situation around him, do we feel like that's kind of a good spot for him? Whether or not even it's just this year or next year, because if Bryce struggles this year, he might be stuck in that bad QB spot for a while.
I feel like if Bryce struggles this year, then they'll have to replace him, and they'll probably be in a good spot to do so. But I don't think it's going to come down to that. I think Bryce is going to put Carolina in a difficult spot, playing just well enough to be considered as potentially a cheap extension, but not so great that he's demanding a new contract. I think that Tet's strength does play to Bryce Young's strength. Timing, they can get open. Bryce Young in college, at least, threw with anticipation. We started to see that again once he got comfortable after being benched. And if he can continue to do that, then I think that Bryce Young's strengths play to Tet's. Tet's not a deep field guy. Bryce Young's not a deep field guy. I think they can work in that short to intermediate range and use his body so he can be successful. That being said, I don't think Bryce Young is the guy that elevates a rookie to be the stud that he could be. So I'm kind of expecting some back end. Well, I don't want to get ahead of myself again. Back end something numbers.
I think I agree with Dan that Bryce Young.
Hey, there's a first.
Yeah, first for this recording.
Oh, this recording. You're right.
The offense, Bryce Young's game fits perfectly. We saw even in the really bad rookie year, we saw Bryce support Adam Thielen as a solid fantasy option. 143-year-old Adam Thielen. He's dead now. I mean, if you had any hope on your dynasty, it's too late. He's expired. You could probably drop him and take a lottery pick for an undrafted rookie. But it's just going to get peppered with targets. This defense is awful. The defense is still really bad. We do have Chuba. Outside of Chuba, who else is going to demand the ball on this offense? Malik Neighbors got 170 targets last year in a really bad Giants offense. He's not Malik Neighbors, but I could see 140 to 150 targets and not really be surprised this year because there's nobody else. Xavier Legette could progress, but is anybody sure he can even catch the damn ball? I'm not.
Yeah. He had the weirdest rookie like prospect profile I've ever seen. So yeah, I don't think he's much of a threat at all.
Yeah.
140 targets.
Yeah, no, and that's pretty insane amount of targets for a quarterback that hasn't shown to be a stud yet. All right, well, moving on.
Looking it up right now.
In the same
Sorry,
ballpark. I was going to say, kind of moving on, keeping in somewhat of the same ballpark. Where do we kind of see his rookie year prediction? Do you see him as ending up as a back end wide receiver 1? Do we see him ending up as wide receiver 2 range, wide receiver 3? Where are we kind of seeing him going at?
Just because I was almost already going to say mine. I have him for his first year more so back end wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 range. I don't think that he's going to be in the 140s for the targets. I think he's going to be closer to like the 110 to 120 range. You're right. There's nobody else demanding the ball right now, but at the same time, I don't know how much he's going to be. Adam Thielen's a savvy veteran. You can get open at this stage in the game, or not right now, but like he's done the job. I don't know if Tet necessarily has that right now in his tool bag. I think he's going to win with physicality, but you cannot expect any higher than like a 50-60% contested catch rate. I don't think that it's going to be like this surefire 80% catch rate type of guy for them. I think it's probably going to be more like 60.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much kind of where I have him too. Like I was kind of saying earlier when we were talking about, I think it's going to take a little bit for him to kind of get going and really evolve into that. And I don't think he's necessarily going to jump in right away week 1, week 2, go off and go crazy. Maybe during playoffs time, he does great for you this year. But I think the first 6-7 games of the season, he's not going to really do anything too amazing. Maybe one really good game in there, but that's going to just drop him kind of into the back end wide receiver 2 range. Maybe, like you're saying, kind of a front end of the wide receiver 3 range.
I think he's going to be a PPR monster. I've already tipped my hand a little bit. I think he's going to average at roughly 6 catches a game. I think he'll have over 100 receptions as a rookie, probably only 5 to 6 touchdowns. We're not going to ride fence. We're going to say 5 touchdowns, 105 receptions, and 1,110 yards. And that's going to put him right in the high-end wide receiver 2 range. Maybe sneaks into 11 or 12, but I'd put him between 11 and 17. He's gonna have a really good year.
So I would definitely take that he does not crack the top 15.
I said 17, Dan.
Yeah, but I'm shaving off too. We're making it a little round here. I'm saying if you said 11 to 17, that's the majority of your range.
All right. The next one we got is
hold on. Let him say yes or no. Do you
I'll
take
meet
the
in the
better
middle
now?
at 16. Wide receiver 16.
I'll take it.
Full point PPR. Wide
I'll
receiver
take
16 or higher.
I'll take that. I think that the thing that could catapult him is the touchdowns. He's a big-bodied guy, and they don't really have that there. So if he ends up with 8 or more touchdowns, I think you probably got me. But I'm taking that.
All right. So the next one we got, though, we talked about his rookie kind of predictions, what we got him going for this season. Me and Dan both got him back in wide receiver 2 kind of range. Lee's got him going top 16 in his rookie year. But where do we see him long-term value? Like, let's say in 3-4 years when we're looking at our dynasty rankings, when it's kind of his contract year, he's getting extended, where are we kind of seeing him being ranked?
I think he becomes a top 10 wide receiver long term. I do think Bryce Young progresses into a top 20-ish starter, so he's going to be in Carolina for a while. We've seen Dave Canales, put together some really high-powered offenses. We've seen kind of the start of that reclamation process. A lot of it is dependent on Bryce Young being what I just said. But I do think the talent's there. And in today's NFL, especially with the too deep zones that we're seeing and people taking the over-the-top stuff away, I think he fits perfectly in today's NFL offense to give you, that 7 to 12 yards a catch, and really just grind down teams.
I think he eventually gets to that. I think he's going to have wide receiver 1 seasons when he hits on the high touchdown variances. But I don't think that's going to happen every season. And in those years, he'll probably be more of that middling wide receiver 2. So after, back end wide receiver 2 to wide receiver 3 year, I think he is going to definitely be worth your investment.
Yeah, I think in like future startup drafts, he's kind of going to be going second roundish. Around then, I don't know. I just think Bryce Young alone is not, if he is the long-term guy, he's not going to be consistent enough. There's going to be certain seasons where, he might be a top 5 receiver, top 5 player, but I think there's also going to be some seasons where he drops out, and, potentially is, top 30 player instead. I think he's a great long-term investment, but he might never really be that like A1, wide receiver 1 type season that certain people want when they're spending that kind of draft capital on him. All right, we got anything else to add on to his career predictions?
No, I'm ready to talk about the draft, and I want to pose a question to you.
Yeah, all right. So the last little question we're going to be covering is where we're drafting him at. I want to start off with, we're really just in rookie draft season right now. So obviously, what rookie pick are you drafting him with? We're doing it in a super flex PPR league.
I would take him at the 103 if we have any word that Travis Hunter is going to play 80%, 90% of his snaps at wide receiver. I would definitely take Travis Hunter. I think he's more dynamic of an athlete, and he's going to make things happen regardless of where he's at on the field. You can make it happen before or after the catch. So yeah, I would take him at 103 unless we know Travis Hunter is going to be playing most of his time at wide receiver. Oh, and Omarion Hampton and Ashton Genty would be before him.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird that 103 to 105 spot. I would agree, Travis Hunter, if we do know 100% he is going to be playing a lot more wide receiver than he is defense. I'd take for sure him 103, and then 4 or 5, it's if you're QB needy, really QB needy, you could take Cam Ward. We've talked about it a little bit before. None of us are super high on Cam Ward, so I would probably personally rather take McMillian at the 104, 105. That just the 104, 105 spot is where he's going. It just depends on your roster needs.
Yeah, and you guys kind of addressed the question. The question that everybody is going to face that is legit, doing these rookie drafts. You need a wide receiver, even if you don't. Say you're not super wide receiver needy, but you're sitting at the 103, and you're looking at Travis Hunter, you're looking at Tet. You might look at Cam Ward if you're really quarterback needy, but I think it's really a philosophical question. Because I do think all indications, everything Liam Cohen said, everything out of Jacksonville is that Travis Hunter is a wide receiver primarily. That could change. Maybe he gets out there and just gets mauled by cornerbacks and they decide to play him at cornerback. But we've talked about that before. From his perspective, from his agent's perspective, from the team perspective, it all makes sense that he's a wide receiver first, and you're mixing him in a little bit on defense. So let's assume that that's the case. I'm taking Travis Hunter over him, and it's really that the floor is lower. The floor is almost non-existent because, hell, the guy could be playing defense in a year.
Right.
but the ceiling is higher. I don't see that wide receiver 1 to 3 potential finish for Tet unless it's just a crazy outlier touchdown year. That potential is there for Travis Hunter, but the floor is so much higher. What do you do philosophically with your fantasy team? Do you obviously you want to minimize risk, but are you swinging for a home run? Bottom of the ninth, bases loaded. Are you trying to hit the grand slam, or are you content getting a single and tying the game and going to extra innings? For me, you play to win the game. I'm not trying to finish second. I'm not trying to get to the playoffs and lose. And I just think while Tech could certainly be a vital piece to get you to a playoff and be a good team, Travis Hunter, if he hits, could absolutely be the guy that wins you a league. So I'm going Travis Hunter 3, and Tet is my slam dunk 4. I don't consider any of the other running backs after Hampton and Genty. Personally, even if I'm super quarterback needy, I don't believe in Cam Ward, so I'm not taking Cam Ward over him either. I'm taking Tet 4 every time I get the chance.
Just looking over the depth chart, Travis Hunter has to play wide receiver most of his snaps. Yeah, there's Brian Thomas, Travis Hunter, and then Parker Washington. Didn't they sign De'Ami Brown? Yeah. Like, not great. Not great after that. They need him to be that wide receiver too.
Also, look up the top paid wide receivers and the top paid cornerbacks in the NFL. Which one do you want to play?
Right. Truly. Also, cornerback does not sound fun in general. That sounds like the hardest. How do you predict? I don't know.
They even lost Evan Ingram too. So really, Parker Washington or Brendan Strange probably is their third option. So I don't know. Travis Hunter might just more be used as kind of that like trick play guy, kind of on defense. They kind of need him for some big play or something like that. They throw him in on defense, but yeah, I mean, it'd be real surprising if he stayed as a DP. Kind of my last thing on him is if you're in an IDP league, playing defense, Travis Hunter seems like a cheat code to me. To being able to throw him in at your cornerback spot is awesome.
If you're in an IDP league and sleeper, do me a favor. Open the league, hit the little gear wheel in the top right. Scroll down to where it says leave league and click that shit.
I won my IDP league last year, and it was a 16-team league.
Yeah,
I can't probably. No, yeah, it's I actually just sent a trade. I want. We got the time to go over that, but I'm gonna hit you boys up after this.
All right. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for this episode. Our little deep dive kind of into Ted McMillian. Hope we could give you a little more insight on why we do and why we don't like him. Obviously, we're all pretty high on him. Seems like he's all our wide receiver too for this rookie class. That's going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching. If you made this far, we appreciate a like and subscribe. Check out the Stadium Rant channel if you want to see some more sports content, podcast, all that sort of things. Thanks for watching and have a good one.
With the first